Hello, this is August feedback session for all the tutorials. Wonderful, summer is ending. We just discussed that we are so happy about that because we get to normal routine. I will start sharing my screen. Oh yeah. And taking, okay, let's start with Valerie's email that she sent to me. I want to read it for all of you. Maybe it will help someone else. So she discovered for herself a new way of painting, especially I guess these first layers, these tricky first layers, to leave light, to tackle these transparent layers. So using the photo of the picture, you want to paint using freehand, no pencil outline, paint each petal one at a time. Don't add water to the brush after the first stroke. Only push the paint around from the darkest to the lightest spots. This really helped me preserve the light and focus on the shadows. Starting with very light color was critical. And yeah, I want to outline here that first layers, no matter how dark or light the subject is, it will always be light. The first layer will be light just to start painting, just to get things going. There are artists who are straight away going with quite dark watercolor mixes. I did try that sometime, but just when I was starting, but I didn't manage to keep the light. I didn't manage to make this painting really full and this with volume. So for myself, and that's what I'm teaching in my tutorials, I find it much easier to do transparently, very lightly, and build those layers one by one and make this painting full. So continuing, by doing one petal at a time, it made painting the second petal need to be placed relative to the size and position of the first, which is helpful when trying to draw. Sometimes I just do the tricky spots in the painting. I've been using a lot less water, which I think has really been helping. Yes, and later she also wrote that she even placed water in the very small area of palette, right? The palette you added.
Yeah, one of the wells of my palette, I just filled with water, and then and don't dip my brush into my jar, just into this little bit of palette water, and then I'm leaving the other pieces of palette with very dry paint, which I notice when you watch Kristine, after she's done the base layer and that, a lot of times her palette looks very, completely dry, and she just got this brush with a little bit of water, and she sort of re-wets the paint and goes from there, and it's been very, very helpful for me.
Yeah. I also, I don't know if I can find, I have sometimes a really small glass. It's from the candle, where you put these little tea candles, and I have this glass candle holder, so it's really tiny, like smaller than 1 inch deep. And yeah, I keep that water not for washing brush, but for dipping for watercolors to my color palette. So lesser amount of water, especially if the painting is little. That we are painting, most of the tutorials are quite small. They're not like huge, and if the painting is huge, then of course you will be needing more water because larger areas needs to be covered. But with small paintings, and when the subject is even like lilac flower or something really small, it's almost none water at all, just to have those paints get moving, and that's it. So maybe this insight will help for someone else. And now we can, another thing. Wow, this is amazing. I want to share with you. Patreon just came with an update. I will show you. I think this will help many of who are struggling with finding the right tutorial. So I will share my screen. In the beginning, I want to, so now when you go to your profile, to my page of Kristine Art, you will find a new section, collections. When you will switch it, then I already started, because only yesterday I found out about these collections. They just came out, and I started to make these collections. For example, online school, if you click it, here are 21 tutorials only related to online school. Then leaves, here will be only leaves. Winter time, fruits and veggies, autumn, summer, spring. I will also add helpful tips and tricks, maybe beginner section separately, advanced section.
Sketches, maybe?
So what?
Sketches, where the
Yeah.
pencil drawing.
Yeah, pencil drawing. Yeah, graphite practice. I will
Graphite,
write.
yeah.
I will write that down. Graphite practice as well. Yeah. So maybe you have some suggestions. You can definitely write me. How can I more make something, some collection that will be easier to find the content. But as you remember, also on my web page, I have section classes, and here are also all classes visible.
Yeah.
But now Patreon have something. It is really level up for so many, so long. It was asked from creators and students. Now it is. So
Right.
yeah, that is a big news. Okay, let's start. What I have. We have fly agaric mushroom. That was a tutorial of August. And okay, let's go. First thing that got my attention is this part can go a little bit deeper. Also, this part can go deeper because this is the part where the mushroom tends to go under, and that's why it becomes the most darkest part. More yellow into this little area. Also, this part can go darker, and these white spots, white things on the mushroom head needs a little bit more darkness here, because those ones which are here are slightly darker than compared to these ones which are completely exposed to light. Beautifully left light area, amazing. All colors are really smooth and subtle, just a little bit more contrast. It's really beautifully, it's coming along, but I would add extra maybe 30 minutes and paint contrast here and there. Also, maybe a little bit darkness here, but other way, it's really beautiful, really smooth transitions from these red area to light area. Beautiful. I also had it more, but then we will look at. Then I have this one. And here it is, the painted version. Okay, we have a reference. It's a screen photo. What got my attention is maybe smoother transitions where the pink area is ending or starting and the light area. Here could be maybe not so, you have the same intensity here and here. This could be more intense, and it can go a little bit lighter towards this area. If we see in the reference, this part is becoming lighter, and it's very gradually connects with the white area. It's not so contrasty as well as here. Then here could be shadow area. Look how darker this part is. You can add definitely more shadow here. You see, this is much darker area. Then a little bit here. Look, this part is darker, and this little curve is lighter. You can add here darkness. Let's go further. This tip can go darker here. So a little contrast here and there could give more realism to this. Yes, and this is normally dark. And this is also, and another thing, here is the white area, but it's, let's compare this white with this white. Which is darker? This one, because it is underneath this head, these petals, and they are casting shadow on this white area. Gray, very, very light gray mix, and it will instantly make a difference. This is really white, this is really white, but this is a little bit darker. Sorry. And sorry, little. Sorry, I'm back. So yeah, a little bit more contrast and more careful observation. Even the white areas have shadow. And we are comparing. While you're painting, you need to compare, like, for example, these two petals. Which is lighter, which is darker? And then in your painting, this also area looks like needs a little bit more blue, ultramarine blue. Wait a second.
I love it. Somebody's gonna get a hiding just now.
Glad those days are over.
So ultramarine blue for this area here. Also the tip of this area with ultramarine blue. Also here, you see, ultramarine blue or some other blue pigment, very, very light here as well. When you see those little other pigments, that makes the painting more interesting, because in nature, they're so rich in colors, and we just need to carefully observe. It comes with time when you start to look more, compare, and then you start to notice what is which extras are there. Now I have this half of the mandarin, and beautifully done. Contrast a little bit more, maybe shadow to this part, because here, if I squint my eyes, I see that this part is lighter and this one is darker. This part is lighter, and this could go a little bit darker with some warm Indian yellow, a little bit maybe of some perylene maroon into Indian yellow to make it more warmer and a little bit darker, because light is coming from that side, but this half of the mandarin is covering and creates shadow, and then this part is in the light. This a little bit more shadow here, but really accurate study and careful Here is the grapes. Here are grapes. And I think I have these grapes in better sorry, no, I don't need this. In better quality from Facebook. Yeah, it's lighter, and it also depends how the photo of the finished work was taken. The previous was much darker and seems like all light almost is lost, but here I found on Facebook other photo of the same student artist, and here it is much lighter, and I can definitely see how light areas are light, which is really good. As I see from this photo, I would even add more very light blue to the light areas, and also more contrast and shadow right here. Look how dark it is here. Also, this area can go a little bit more darker. I hope this photo is the right one, because I think that the previous was really taken in a dark time of the day. And if this is the more closer to the reality, then I would add more shadow to some areas like this and here. And then ultramarine blue, or maybe you have manganese blue, which is very light pigment. You could add more blue to the lightest parts, and it will definitely make much better this texture of grapes. And also stem can go darker, for example, this part, and also this part. Yeah, but beautiful study of the grapes. Then I have a peony painting. And peony painting, beautifully done. Let me see. The stem can go a little bit brighter. Here, it is important to distinguish the leaves and stem and this part of the flower bud. They are in different color tone. This stem and this part of the bud is more yellowish green, and I would add more lemon yellow. Yes, lemon yellow. This could do the thing to make it more brighter, more yellowish, and would not touch. These are almost, maybe this part could also have a little bit of lemon yellow. Maybe more shadow areas on the leaves. Here, here, and here, because the leaf of the petal is wavy and a little bit curved, so a little bit shadow here, then a little bit here. This is done nicely, and maybe more shadow on the right side. About the flower head, everything looks very good. Maybe cast shadow would be nice to add right here. It will separate these two petals, and always cast shadow areas are more interesting. They make this thing that it looks like something is getting off the paper surface. So cast shadow area here, also a little bit here more, and also here. I would not leave this white line so vivid. It really stands out and gives a feeling that this petal is going on this green part, not into behind it, but on. So yeah, this white line is not necessary, and here could be a cast shadow. You see here we have a cast shadow area.
What do you mean by cast shadow?
cast shadow area is when one area, this petal, is casting shadow on this petal. You see this dark line, it's not line, it's really shadow area. It's just really small and really dark. This is called cast shadow, when something is casting shadow on something else. And that's the way we are separating things, not with dark line, for example, but with the shadow area of this petal, we are separating these two petals. Here, if we are talking, I also noticed that this part is darker, and this could go darker, this petal. Also, here's the cast shadow area. This little part is cast shadow area. This also here, these are cast, and they are really, I always look for them. They really make the difference when you are adding them. And in this particular,
At the end.
what?
Do you add them at the end?
At the, yeah, almost at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's almost the darkest part. Cast shadow areas are always quite dark, and it gives this really nice touch. You feel like something starts to separate and make it more, it becomes more realistic. It helps to make this thing that pops out of the flat surface. Now they all look quite illustrative, but when this cast shadow area will be added here, it will definitely instantly change the look of this painting. Okay, let's see what we have here. I have rose, and this rose tutorial was supposed to be really loose and quick, and the result is really beautiful, accurate, smooth, and these really transitions are smooth and gradual, beautifully done. I would add a little bit more contrast here and there, for example, here, also here, maybe here. So little bit contrast will definitely add more realistic look, but it's already a nice study because this is really was to be painted loose, very quite light, without detailing, without going too much into detailing. It was all about these first layers, leaving light. So exercise done perfectly. Just a little bit more contrast, but again, this can be left like it is. Maybe a little bit more shadow here, but beautifully. Maybe a little bit more lighter stem could be left, but again, it was all about these first layers and keeping light. Then we have, okay, this one. So I asked Maria to send in her first layer of this fruit ball, which is amazing and looks so delicious. And I wanted to state out the very first thing that she is missing in the very first layers. I know that she's trying to tackle these first layers and light areas, and here in this first I noticed where could be maybe the problem. So for example, these fruits, I don't know the names of these fruits, and I don't know most of these fruits, so sorry, I will just call them fruits. They no light at all in the first layer, no light at all. And I also noticed from these fruits that I think she covered the area and then tried to wipe out the pigment. But what I would do, and also for this one, I would apply water very small just to have the surface moist, and I would add color only here from the shadow area. I am looking at the reference and I see shadow. I would add pigment here, watercolor mix, which I would pre-mix, and then I would clean my brush in water, wipe it in paper towel, and smooth the applied layer towards the lightest part. This will make it more gradual and keeping this area completely light. Here, she just completely covered the whole surface, completely even, no shadow area, no light area, everything is even. Here the same, here is the same here. In this little spot, I can see that, sorry, I can see that this, here is also light. The same here, and also these fruits. I always try to remind, I think in every tutorial, keep the light area wider than it is in the reference. Here we have this white spot, and I noticed from the first layer of here that you just left, wiped out the pigment and left the same size as it is here. After many layers, you will lose it completely because you don't have this area to make it more gradually smaller, and making this gradually small, the light area smaller is helping to make it more this gradual transition from the shadow to the light by half tones. But when we are just wiping out, like also here, we have a strong contrast between light and dark. There are no gradual transition, but here we can see that around this white spot, there are also half tones, and this area is the darkest. So as I noticed this photo in our Facebook group, which is also nice, the idea that you maybe sometimes when you struggle with keeping lights, you can post some of your paintings in the beginning stage, and maybe I will notice these little mistakes that you are doing in the very first stage of the painting process, and after this it is hard to keep the light area, and here it is almost lost. These are good. You can add more contrast and keep light, but these fruits, yeah. Also, this is too less amount, too small area for the light. And here we have a beautiful reflected light area. Also, here we have this little fruit. Is to make it more realistic, it needs a little spot of light. So yeah, I noticed this and I instantly wanted to have this feedback in the very first stage of this painting. But it's amazing that you are trying to paint from your own references, which is a bravo and amazing thing to do. This will definitely teach you and push you to move forward, to experiment and learn things. Okay, hope this will help. Then we have plum painting. I think I also have the same artist, but in better quality. Let me check. It was also in a Facebook group. Yes. So again, different time of the day when the photo was taken, and the result is completely different. Beautifully done plum, so smooth transitions, light is amazing, leaves are so detailed, so less to say and to give, but of course let's have a look what we can do. This area could be a little bit more darker, more contrast to this part would be also nice, but again it's already good. About leaves, what I can say about leaves, this here, okay. So what I can say about leaves, maybe light is lost in some areas, and all these leaves look quite the same in terms of tonal values. But if we look at the reference, this part is lighter, this is lighter, and to make different tonal values is helping to separate, to make it more interesting, to make it more realistic. Now all these leaves except this little area and this little area, they all look quite the same. But in the reference, we have here a very beautiful cast shadow area, but here we have a very beautiful light area, and then this part, and yeah, this especially, and here. So it's important to have light areas, especially in watercolor realistic painting. In any painting, light plays major role to make it more natural, more realistic, and more eye-catching, maybe even. Yeah, it's all about light and shadow play constantly, and thinking about light from the very first layers. It's like crucial, really. Okay, what we have. Oh, then I have from our group, Facebook group. Here we have another mushroom, very beautifully done. It looks so, I don't know, rustic, or yeah, it's, especially this part, it looks so realistic, beautiful. And this part, maybe a little bit more contrast here. This part is darker, more yellow here. Yellow could go, you see how vivid this yellow part is. This part, darkness, is really good. Maybe I would add also the same darkness here. If we look at the reference, this tonal value also is the same here. So as this is really contrasty dark, I would add also to this part and make it more even, more three-dimensional. And light area is here, but if you will add more contrast here, the light area will instantly become lighter because of the contrast of the darkest part. Yeah, but the stem, perfect, and really, really good work. Good work. I like the result. Okay, switching this off. Then we just discuss this plum. Here we have another plum. Maybe light area could be here, but again, it's good that it is there. It's when it is, you also sometimes need to think about the light, and I always try to make my references in painting when the light source is coming from the left side. Now it appears that the light source is coming straight from the front because it is hitting this part of the plum. And to have the shadow here, it means that the light should be here. It all comes from an angle. And if the light is here, then it's strange to see shadow straight away here. Then the shadow area would be much further, closer to this outer, and also it would be here as well, because it comes straight. So be careful with that. But again, wonderful that you have light area. This is really step up. And more detailing, with more careful with leaves. Don't rush with leaves. Carefully separate them with the shadow and accuracy, but wonderfully. And I think you also are happy with the result, because this is really advanced and it was quite challenging to do, but the result is beautiful. Just little things to consider when you are painting. Then we have a peony. And when I saw it, I was just go, wow. It looks so, it's so interesting. I always try to, when I have a bigger subject, I take bigger paper and to make this difference. But in this particular case, I like the hugeness of this peony in this page. It somehow, I don't know, it's not good for the composition, maybe to frame it, but for this sketchbook, I think when somebody will open it, wow, what a flower. Beautifully done. I have a reference photo here. Why it's not moving? Okay. And what can I say? It's beautifully done. Water drops are so juicy and they almost feel real and they will come off the paper surface. Maybe a little bit more contrast here and there. You can definitely leave it as it is. It's already beautiful and so magnificent in the sketchbook, but a little bit contrast maybe here, maybe also here. Maybe this cast shadow area can go, but it's already good. It's already good. Leaves are so good. I would maybe not make it so detailed, this leaf, because it starts to compete with the front one, but something that is further from us, we are detailing lesser to make this illusion that it's somewhere further and we just don't quite see all the details. What is in front of us, the closer to us, that's where we are detailing all the things, and this is also making this contrast. And also when we are looking out of the window, something that is further, it starts to blur and it starts to become more grayer, and that those things, those subjects that are much closer, they are more vivid, more detailed. And that's what we are doing also in compositions. We have more subjects, we are separating them with this illusion of contrast and detail. But it's perfect already. It's just my little feedback, what you can sometimes think about in your next paintings. Then we have another peony. Here it is. And yeah, this here also the same thing as we have with the first one. Leaves are one green color mix, and stem and this bud part is more vivid green color mix. In the reference, we can clearly see, and if we take a peony flower in real life, we also notice that the stem is one color and leaves are different color. I'm not judging your color tones, but I'm judging the difference. We need to have this, this difference should be visible, that leaves are one color mix and stem is other. Here we have everything the same. More shadow to the stem here, upper part. Maybe a little bit more shadow here. And this part, you see it's darker. So you can add a little, don't touch this area, it's good. Also, as the one we discussed, shadow here, this cast shadow, contrast with this one, don't touch this area, definitely. Yeah, but beautifully. This also was quite difficult. And we have another plum. More accurate with transferring line drawing to make it more straighter. Now it turned and leaves are in the same place. Yeah, but it's not bad. It's just a thing to maybe consider next time. Be more accurate with your, if you are sketching freehand, not transferring but doing it yourself, then first do on a plain paper, sketch it from the reference photo as you are looking, freehand drawing, and when you have the sketch, then you only transfer to original paper. You can correct, make 100 lines in your plain paper and then transfer to original watercolor paper, because we can't sketch on watercolor paper. We will have so many extra lines which we can't erase. We do the sketches on the plain paper and then we transfer if you are freehand drawing. More thinner veins, leaf veins could be nice. Also be careful with the light, the same as with the previous one that we discussed. Lost light here and almost here. This part is also lost light, so be more careful with light. Also the same as we discussed previously with the plum light area. But again, really detailed and beautiful painting, just little things to notice next time when you are painting. Be more accurate with line drawing, or if you are sketching, also compare. And about light area. This is like super important, but beautiful. This is advanced painting, and especially for beginners, this is amazing that you tried it. It's not easy, definitely. Here we have another plum. It was quite popular, this plum. Something different from flowers and leaves, I guess. Okay, what we have here. Beautiful, smooth, maybe a smaller veins. It takes time and practice to make those veins smaller. It really does. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm just always telling to notice that. Here maybe a little bit darker. These veins could go more yellow. These a little bit thinner. Good you have light. Nice that you have light and here and here. Also, this vein can go definitely smaller. And also careful with the light area, almost the same. It could be a little bit higher, but again, nicely done work. Detailed, accurate study of leaves and lines, all those little spiky edges, beautiful. What we have more? Another plum. Let's take it in front. Another plum. And more contrast to the shadow. Definitely you can go darker. It will instantly make this plum more roundish. Now if I would turn this into black and white photo, they would have the same tonal value as here and here, just different color tones. But if it would be black and white, then it would be all the same. More layers here, definitely more layers. Beautiful leaves, they have a personal style. These all wavy lines and veins, they have definitely your unique style. Take a closer notice of that. I think this is something really interesting about your particular painting. Yes, maybe those veins could be thinner, but something about this waviness and lines of the leaves makes it completely unique and your own. I like it. It's interesting. So take a observation of your painting. Maybe it's something specifically yours. Even if you are painting my tutorial, this is something something unique. Then we have rose. Again, this was more looser painting. What I can say here, be careful with outlining. We are not making these lines darker just to separate things here and here. We are adding darker lines where we can clearly see from the reference that there's something dark. Also, more transparency, you have really left light area, and this is really good. Maybe more contrast in these areas, and a little bit shadow here. as I remember, because I think I closed the reference photo. And this is really good start. Amazing. Paint further, experiment with new tutorials, experiment with more transparency and more accuracy, and don't make really dark and saturated watercolor mix. It can clearly see that there's too much pigment here. These little things are showing that there's too much pigment. Also here and here. And this in watercolor painting stands out in not the best way, because when the pigments in one place gathers too much, sometimes it even shines on the paper surface when there's too much pigment. Then we have a peony, very smooth and yeah, it's really, I want to really smooth. I like the smoothness of the flower head. Beautiful. Maybe these edges, especially this one, paint extra layer to not make it so light, because it is going underneath the flower head and into the shadow area. There's no white line, white edge. Here we have a little light edge, okay, but this one is too light. Here could be you lost this little inner part, this one. You can add it definitely. And about more work on the leaves. You can definitely paint further. This part, shadow here. Oh, I can't show it here. So more shadow here. Stem needs more work. This part, but this is really nice and smooth painting of the peony flower. Peony flower has a lot of those characteristic lines that we are creating with fine brush strokes, and here you've done it perfectly. Another mushroom. This is also beautiful, crisp. I like really this crisp touch. It's also something you're unique, something from your own style, this crispness of painting. Maybe more contrast here, and definitely on the inner part of the mushroom head. You see how dark it is here, so you can definitely add more shadow in the inner part. And so here I would paint this little part. Where's the reference? Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's see. You see this part. If I would draw here a line, these two parts connect, because this is the whole lower part of the head. But here you forgot to paint it. So a little bit more, this little corner, it looks kind of strange that, or the part of the mushroom head is missing, or you just forgot to paint. So here the line is not connecting behind the stem. Here a little bit more, this part, you need to, I would draw here a line like this and make it darker. This little triangle, leave this light, but inner part, make it darker here as well, and underneath the head on the stem surface. But other way, it's really beautiful. You left the light, maybe not so light here. You can add a little bit more layers here. Beautiful yellow edge, nicely done. These white spots are also wonderful. Maybe don't go with the two, it looks almost black color. Be more accurate with accurate with that, because in this particular painting it's not bad. It looks kind of this crisp feeling of this painting. But if you are using black pigment for, I don't know, maybe it's not black, maybe it's in this photo it looks black, maybe it's perlin violet too much, but be careful with that. Yeah, but definitely correct this little thing. Otherwise, it's beautiful, beautifully done mushroom. let's look what we have. So I went through, yeah. That's it. Maybe, ladies, you have questions. You can turn on mics if somebody switched off and ask away.
I'm fine.
Too much information?
Mhm.
A lot.
So I hope this was helpful and maybe we tackled some issues and some things. So again, like Valerie did, experiment, try different approaches. She finds something her own and then she realized that I was telling that. So maybe you need to try something, then you will understand some issue that you are dealing with. And it's always time, it's always practice. Don't worry if you don't get straight away a realistic watercolor painting. It takes time and it takes patience. It's not something that you can get from the first tutorial, even the 10th. It takes time and yeah, patience, definitely patience.
Lots of patience.
Yeah, yeah, and along the way, enjoy it.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I think the most helpful thing that I have come to realize is from your comment, is when you're in the little areas to use it like a pencil. That has helped me so much.
Yeah.
Even with the faint lines.
Yeah.
The little lines, to use it like a pencil. That was really helpful for me.
Great. Great.
Really.
Yeah. It's especially in the smaller areas. Yeah, little these cast shadow areas, almost like pencil. The difference is, yes, it is wetter than pencil. Pencil is completely dry, and you need to have a lot of pencils. So I find it quite not so easy to find all these colors. You can't really mix them, and it's easier with the brush, and brush is softer and a little bit moister. But again, nothing is dripping off, nothing is floating all around. It's just water just enough so that watercolors can be moved. They are not floating, they are not be super watery.
Yeah. With the graphite, I learned that the pencil stroke, if you push hard, it's dark. If you push light, it's light. And that's what helped me with the your pencil instruction.
Great. I'm happy that with new session, new insights, a little step further.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Great. I'm happy.
Yes. I'm happy too. Thank you.
I'm grateful and happy.
Okay, thank you, ladies, very much. Thank you for coming. I was so happy to see you, and have a wonderful September. News are coming next week. I will add everything that we will have in September. Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.